Hi folks, I want to do a slightly different video. And I did this video yesterday and I actually uploaded it, but YouTube has this way of automatically selecting three different thumbnails that I can use as a title slide. That's why the title slides that sometimes come up are so random. I choose the best of the three and they're based, it's based on some sort of algorithm. So the YouTube technology is kind of trying to capture whatever it is that it's trying to capture. And yesterday, the three shots were just all unusable. So I guess there's a universe telling me that I need to create sort of an introductory picture or something that I can just upload with or that I can include with every video. And that would be nice because it would start to give these videos a slightly more professional appearance. But irrespective, I'm going to do it again because I also think I can make the message a little bit tighter. Now, this is not a video about transits. This is a more general astrology video about something that I find that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I thought I would share it with you. As far as current transits are concerned, the full moon in Sagittarius video I did a few days ago, a lot of the transits I talked about in that video occurred today and yesterday, so it's still current. So if you want to get a sense of the snapshot of the energy of the time, I would look to that. Venus conjuncted the North Node today. The Sun squared Neptune today. The Sun trined Saturn today. Mars conjuncted Chiron yesterday. So a lot of those transits that were brewing a few days ago at the time of the full moon have occurred by now. The next transit is Venus in Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius. And I don't even know if I'm going to do it. We've talked about the Saturn. We've talked about the Taurus Uranus. We've talked about the Taurus Aquarius squares so much over the past couple of years that I don't know if I have anything new to add to it, but I might. But let's come back to what this video is about. Some of you may already know this, and for some of you, this information may be very, maybe a little too introductory, but I'll just dive into it. Every day of the week is associated with a heavenly body. Sunday is the day of the sun, Monday is the day of the moon, Tuesday is the day of Mars, Wednesday is the day of Mercury, Thursday, today, is the day of Jupiter, Friday is the day of Venus, Saturday is the day of Saturn. And as far as the ancients were concerned, they only factored in the visible celestial bodies, the ones that I've mentioned. They did not know about or factor in Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, or Chiron in anything astrological. And then within every day, from sunrise to sunset and then sunset to sunrise, that period of time is also divided amongst these various bodies. Now, I'm not going to go into the time in each day that is associated with the planets. You can get that information on astro.com. I think you may need to be a subscriber and you'll see it listed on the right-hand side. At least that used to be the case. And I think that once things start to get so granular, it starts to beg the question whether the tail is wagging the dog. Many of us don't have the opportunity to align our lives with cycles, with moon cycles, with solar cycles, with Mercury cycles. Many of us have days that are and calendars that are aligned with the solar calendar as opposed to the time between a new moon and another new moon, a lunar calendar. And many of us have days that are structured by corporate timelines or job timelines. Monday is the first day of the week, the work week. Friday is the last day of the work week. And then Saturday and Sunday are technically the weekend or days off. Although I know that that kind of thinking, even if you're in a structured corporate environment, isn't entirely accurate. A lot of people are working over the weekends. A lot of people will use the weekday, and especially with COVID, blah, blah, blah. But that still tends to be our mindset. For those of us like myself whose days are less structured, really every day should feel the same, because what difference does it make if I do an astrology video on one day or, whatever it is, the same things can crop up for me on a weekend day that crop up for me on a weekday. And yet, I think maybe because I have been in this space, I've noticed that the days of the week feel different. And I don't know truly whether this is just conditioning or whether it is a question of planetary influence. But I find this kind of thinking fascinating. Now, the question, of course, for me is, how do I use these energies to make the most of every day? And I don't mean make the most of every day in some kind of maniacally productive, kind of beat yourself up manner, because I don't think that ultimately is useful. If I want to save that kind of energy, I really think I'm going to need to start saving it for Saturdays, the days of Saturn. But I think the 2 days that I feel this the most are Mondays and Fridays. Monday being the day of the moon, there's no question that there's just something, moon governs our emotional stability, our emotional nourishment, our emotional life, our intuitive life. It's internal, it's not rational. And I really find that no matter what, Mondays have a quality of just being harder to get going in. And I'm playing with the idea of, on Mondays, can I give myself a gentler landing or a gentle takeoff into the week? And can I find a way to nourish the inner child or please the inner child somehow on a Monday so that I can get going and rev up as the morning proceeds? Now, I know that some astrologers have pointed out that the very first hour after sunrise, I think it's either the first time period, not hour necessarily, the first time period or the second time period is assigned to Saturn, which could be another reason why Monday mornings or right after waking, it's a harder, it's not the pleasantest or flowiest of energies necessarily. There's a sense of weight, there's a sense of responsibility, there's a sense of burden to it. But part of the reason why I'm not spending time on periods of time during each day that is assigned to a different planet is, I don't know that any of us has the luxury to necessarily work out when it's the hour of Mars, and it's not an hour technically, or pursue income generating or expense generating activities when it's the hour of Venus. I don't think we have that luxury. Also, I think beyond a certain point, I don't think it pays to become that OCD and have astrology or anything run your life to that degree. We still have to keep our hands on the steering wheel. We have a set of responsibilities, and we've got to remain in action and do what we need to do. As I've said before, transit will come and go, but if you're not in the process of living your life or co-creating with the universe, the transit has not very nowhere to go or to express itself necessarily if you are not engaged. And so when I start to look at the different times of the day, should I be sending my emails out? When is the time period associated with Mercury? Well, if it makes sense, maybe I could experiment with that. But it's starting to get a little granular, because it's a little, as it is, trying to fit everything that I need to fit into a day is challenging, as I'm sure it's for you. But Monday being the day of the moon, I think, I could be wrong, I could be misattributing this, but Shakti Gawain has kind of a daily calendar or a daily guide to living, which is very, very good, by the way. But do not, please make sure that if you are ever purchasing something that I'm talking about or recommend, make sure you're being financially responsible and that it actually fits in your budget and it's not going to mess you up. But this video is not about which books to buy. But I think she talks about in that book, and again, I could be misattributing it. So she talks about how it might make sense to nourish your inner child once a day so it doesn't sabotage your day. So if you really want that thing, if you really want to listen to that song, or if you really want to consume something, as again, I'm not talking about consuming anything that is going to cause you discomfort, or sometimes we crave things that may not be right for us or good for us. So if it's something to eat or whatever it is, or drink, or addictive, or that's not where I'm going with this. But the bottom line is, it is interesting to think about, if I can make my inner child happy once a day somehow, will I have that much more productive a day? And can I do it in a way that is responsible but still satisfying? And Monday especially is a day when that seems to be very, very, and especially the idea of allowing yourself to have a gentler start on Monday, as opposed to, oh my God, I should be doing this, doing that. Monday being the day of the moon really does tend to resonate for me, where things just are a little moodier, more emotional, require a certain amount of gentleness, more intuitive, more yin as opposed to yang, and Monday is supposed to be a yang day. Tuesday being the day of Mars, not unusual that a lot of us find our groove on Tuesday being the day of Mars. Mars is the male planet, achievement of goals, setting of boundaries, pursuit of goals, executing on certain things, the day of muscle, the day of testosterone, the day of hunting, gathering, protecting, um, achieving. And so Tuesday, very much by being a day of Mars, is a yang day. Wednesday is a day of communication and commuting and local travel. And it's a day of Mercury. So emails, contracts, skill acquisition, talking, social media, video, a day of communication. Thursday being the day of Jupiter, arguably is an expansive day, still assigned to the achievement, our measuring ourselves against our goals, our checking in with our goals, our, it is technically the luckiest day of the week. Although Jupiter's luck, I really find Jupiter more a planet of alignment as opposed to luck in the way we experience luck. Irrespective, technically, Thursday could be a great day to just go back to the drawing board and check and see where you're at against your vision. And it may be a day when there are epiphanies or thinking about where the compass is out. It doesn't make it any more or less a day of achievement. Friday is the other day after Monday that I feel this the most. And there's no reason for me necessarily to feel like Friday is the end of a work week, because I could have a pretty busy weekend, technically. But Friday being the day of Venus, I really do feel Friday to be a day when there's the urge to really put up your feet and do as little as possible. It's, Friday for me is the most weekendy of days, even though technically it's not on a weekend in terms of mood and vibe. Socializing, talking, unplugging, putting the feet up, meeting up and hanging out with friends, eating, drinking responsibly, the pursuit of pleasure, the pursuit of flow, in a Venusian sense, connecting to natural cycles, natural forces. I find actually Friday to be the day where Friday is the best feeling day for me. And it's really Venus that I associate much more with the way that we talk about luck on a day-to-day basis in terms of there being opportunity or finances. Friday could be a day of expenditure too, it being associated with Venus, but it could also be associated with self-worth. Certainly the idea of leisure and pleasure, particularly pleasure, would be associated with Friday out of most of the days. And I find that week after week, I connect with that. Saturday is the day of Saturn, and this is a day that I really have trouble with this definition, because I find that I still operate very much on a weekend paradigm. And I tend to treat Saturday as the first day of the weekend. And so Saturday tends to be the day when I wake up later, when I'm not really that interested in doing chores, but Saturday technically would be the day. There can very easily be a sense of responsibility to Saturday. So if you're not attending to your responsibility, you could very much have that gremlin going, well, we need to do this, I need to do this, and you should be doing this. And Saturday would be a great day to be organized, to get organized, to take care of your chores, to take care of responsibilities, to even put in some work, to take care of what needs to be taken care of in order for you to be at your best. Whether you can actually get there or not or make that switch, I don't know. You could take care of these responsibilities. There are people who may have an afflicted Saturn or may want to please Saturn in more traditional outlooks, who might use Saturday as a day of prayer to Saturn. And you could, if you want to use that philosophy, I don't see why Saturn would have a problem if you dedicated that day to Saturnian activities, to responsible activities. Otherwise, you could technically find that by making Saturday a day of pleasure, there's a certain amount of guilt and frustration that somewhere the nagging is there, that there are things that need to be done. Sunday, interestingly to me, is the second weekend day after Friday because it is the day of the sun, and being outside, taking in the sun if the weather allows it, or your skin allows it, or you're comfortable doing so. But more importantly, with the sun, I really associate the sun with the soul and with, again, a day, not a bad day to check in with what is working, what is not a bad day for it to be a day of reflection. And that aligns with the idea of, Sunday being a day off and a day of reflection before you head into Monday. Just experiment with this. I'd be curious whether Monday you're really someone who can just bound up out of bed on Monday and treat it as a Monday and get going first thing in the morning. I find that there's some truth to Monday when it comes around to being the day of the moon. That even if Sunday feels great and there's been a certain amount of reflection and unwind, with Venus and Friday, there's an element of socializing and pleasure and raucousness to Friday, insofar as the putting one's feet up is almost an act of rebellion and exhaustion around work, and it's time carved out for yourself and pleasure and leisure. And even if you're spending Friday by yourself, there might be a greater inclination to watch Netflix, or it might be much more consciously yang in terms of, even though it's a yin day and Venus is a yin planet, it might be much more might be much more conscious in the pursuit of pleasure. Whereas in Sunday's case, it's a much more reflective day by definition, so far as being the day of the sun. You're really connecting with yourself on Sunday. And it's a much more holistic view over your life, as opposed to Thursday being the day of Jupiter, where there might still be a much greater focus on your vision for yourself in your life, as opposed to just generally how you're doing and what's going on and how you're feeling in a day of connecting with spirit. Sunday, the soul, the sun, etc. And then, as I said, Monday comes around, and it might be that it's by Monday afternoon or Tuesday that you're really starting to get in the groove. Tuesday being the day of Mars, when we get going. Wednesday, communication. Thursday, I'll use the word goals, authenticity, vision. Friday, leisure. Saturday, responsibility. Sunday, reflection. Isn't that fascinating? I wonder if you guys connect to that as a definition, or whether you find it interesting. As I said, not all of us have the opportunity to use the days this way. Our calendars and schedules are set for us. But I'm finding I'm finding the vibe of the days interesting to think about, to contemplate, and to see if I can somehow use them in the execution of my tasks if I do have the ability to do so. Can I more consciously take Friday and Sunday off? And can I more consciously use Saturday to be more responsible? Actually, I shouldn't put that in quotation marks. Can I give myself a gentle start on Monday? Can I really focus on Tuesday and Wednesday on achievement? And can I allow for epiphanies to happen on Thursday, or an overall kind of measurement to happen on Thursday with regard to where I'm at and what I should do next, etc. Okay, I hope you found that interesting. As I said, it's more kind of a tidbit kind of thing, as opposed to talking about current transits. I will leave it at that. If you found this video useful or helpful, feel free to share it, comment on it. Comments and likes drive more traffic to videos on YouTube, I think. And feel free to subscribe to my channel. Click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button in order to be notified whenever I do new videos. And I will leave it at that. Thank you. Bye.